You're listening to Prosper in the Kingdom, the podcast where faith meets practical strategies to help you become healthy, wealthy, and wise. Join hosts Jon Cleaver and Wendy Lee as they share insights to equip you in your journey toward abundance, spiritually, financially, and beyond. Just a reminder, every situation is unique. The content of this podcast is for educational purposes only and should not be taken as specific financial or medical advice.
Motion creates emotion. I love that intro. Welcome back, Wendy Lee. How are you doing today?
Doing great. Loving life. And I'm here.
I like the dramatic pause. That was good. So welcome back, everybody. It's another episode of Prosper in the Kingdom. We're going through a series called God's Blueprint for Health, Wealth, and Wisdom, because that's what we're all about. It's like old Ben Franklin said, teaching people to be healthy, wealthy, and wise. So last week we talked about breaking free from the scarcity mindset. Got a lot of good feedback on that. So hopefully you, the viewer / listener, enjoyed it as well. And if you did, please make sure to give us that like. Take a second, but it does a lot for us. But today we're going to dive in a little bit deeper and talking about how to get out of debt and back in shape. So, you look at life and things like that. That's one of the two big challenges, or those are the two big challenges a lot of people face is, number one, I want to be in better shape every January, and we're kind of coming up on that end of March. So the end of the first quarter, and I'm sure some of us have fallen off that bandwagon. But we also want to talk about getting out of debt and why that isn't so important. But, both can weigh you down. Limit your freedom, keep you from thriving and being abundant with God's plan for you. Here's the good news, though. You can control both of these with the right plan and applying some biblical wisdom, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, it is. It's like the two biggest things we hear every year for resolutions are get out of debt and get in better shape.
I know, seriously. It's like
but how many
Groundhog
people
Day.
don't do either one? I mean,
Well,
I'm
it's not
guilty
for lack
for
of
years.
trying, right? Yeah, it's not for lack of trying, but we lose steam or whatever the case may be. So we're going to actually dive into a little bit of that and recognize that, financial health, physical health, it requires stewardship, discipline, and most importantly, intentional action. Being intentional with your resources, being intentional with your time, which is a key resource. But, looking at kind of diving in, why debt and health? How does that even tie together? Right.
Mhm.
Well, one of the key verses, again, this is that biblical wisdom we're kind of bringing to the table here, is 1 Corinthians 6:19-20, or 19 and 20. Do you not know that your bodies are temples of the Holy Spirit? So, yeah, that's one of those things. And I've heard it in the past. I'm sure you have too, Wendy, that the bodies are your temple, right? That's showing God you're thankful for this life. And how are you treating your temple? And I'll be honest, sometimes I let it get a little sloppy. I'm not going to lie.
Well, and we have this culture of especially the American Christian church. It's like
yes.
all the fellowship is around food.
Well, I'm a Baptist. So, it's non-denominational, but it's built on Baptist. And my grandparents were Baptist. And yeah, it's like, we hope to see you Sunday, but don't show up without a casserole. Right.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things breaking bread and stuff like that. I mean, don't get me wrong. That's okay. But, it's like anything, food can become a god, and you can become excess. Are you eating to live, or are you eating because it's pleasurable and, kind of taken over? But, both of these, whether it's the food or, poor health, not even just food, you don't have to be overweight. I used to refer to myself as skinny fat, meaning I wasn't like overweight, but I was out of shape. And that's part of it too, making sure you're getting in good shape. But whether it's debt or poor health, both of these come from lack of discipline, right? Could be stress. And short-term thinking, right? It's like, oh yeah, that one cookie won't hurt you, or those 5 cookies won't hurt you. Just being a little transparent there.
Yeah.
But go ahead.
I was just gonna say it's short-term. It's short-term living. It's like what makes me feel good today, right?
Yeah.
For me, it's chips and dip. or or ice cream. But it's, back to your bodies are a temple, like it is, I think back to the Bible days and Noah and, Abraham, and they lived for like hundreds of years. And it's like, what changed? I mean, what changed? And I saw something the other day that talked about like, it's what we've done to ourselves, to our own bodies over time. I don't know what that is.
Aspartame, that's what changed.
But
So now,
I mean,
go ahead.
we want more time on this earth to do the work God's called us to do. And we want it to be efficient. Like that's my biggest thing with when it comes to health and why I'm working out now. It's because I want to be strong to be able to make an impact for the rest of my life on this earth, not be like incapacitated the last 15, 20 years and not be able to do things, like got work to do.
Well, that's the key, right? I mean, you get to later in life and, hopefully get to retire and enjoy things, but so many people can't because they're cruising around in their little, I forget what those things are called, the scooter deals. There's a term for it, but, and it's not, I don't think it's anywhere where anybody wants to be. It's just because we don't plan accordingly. And that's really, again, whether it's debt or whether it's, just being out of shape or overweight, it comes from that impulse, right? I want that snack, or oh man, I'm not really hungry. And I'm trying to get into a habit now of asking myself when all of a sudden I have a craving or whether it's something sweet or salty or something like that. Am I hungry or am I just wanting to eat?
Right.
Do I have hunger pains or just want to eat? But it's, the lack of planning, I've got friends that do meal prep and I talked to you about it. I'm like, man, I really want to learn how to do meal prep because we do get busy, throughout our lives and stuff like that. Or on the credit side, again, going back to what you just said about the instant gratification, right? It's so easy just to pull out that credit card and swipe or just tap it. You don't have to swipe it anymore. You just tap it and poof, that item is magically yours now at the low payment of $20 a month or whatever the case may be. And what happens is that starts to slide out of control.
Yeah.
And the next thing you look up and it's like, oh my gosh, I'm cruising around on my little scooter massively in debt. I mean, and it's not a good place to be. That's not what life was intended. It's not about waking up, going to work to see you can make money to pay your bills and then do it all over again the next day. Right.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. And we need to recognize that both the financial health and the physical health, it comes down to stewardship, it comes down to discipline, and it comes down to being really intentional.
So what do you mean by being intentional? Kind of dive into that a little bit.
Yeah. Well, I think, like to your point of meal prep, like what you got to think with the end in mind, right? What do I want it to look like 10, 15, 20, 50 years from now? Some of us, not me, but, and if that's what I want that future to look like, what do I need to do now? We forget that the actions every day compound to give you that future. And what we do today matters. So we have to be intentional with today instead of continuing to see each little event. Like instead of, I mean, I'm fully guilty. I know people can relate to this. Like if it's instead of asking, is this in my budget? We ask, do I have enough credit for that? Right. Like instead of thinking like that, knowing, hey, if I want a life of debt freedom, then I say no today to things so I can get there. And if I want a life of health and strength in the future, then I'm going to be intentional with what I'm putting on my plate and what I'm putting in my house today. And I think about that with my kids. Like it's a huge responsibility in today's America because our kids have access to so much junk food so easily.
Yeah.
And it's like, thankfully, my 7-year-old, she loves carrots, celery, apples. Like I got to push protein more, but we got to teach our kids now. We think it's not a big deal. Oh, let them have the Coke. Oh, let them have this. Oh, let them have that. But we're developing their habits for the future.
Well,
sorry, I went off on a tangent there, but
exactly. No. And it's even us, we say, oh, it's only one cookie or one bowl of ice cream or one piece of cake or whatever. And we give ourselves these little passes. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, it's like, I'm not really walking or working out or whatever. And it doesn't have to be a big, you don't have to block out an hour, hour and a half every day to walk, to work out, right? It's just a matter of, number one, being conscious of, am I hungry or am I just eating?
Right.
Do I actually have hunger pains or am I just eating? And another one is portion size. Middle class kid, borderline upper lower class, whatever you want to call it, right? It was always, oh, finish your plate, finish your plate. And so that gets ingrained, at least it did with me. And I had a lunch one time with a friend of mine, and I was kind of hungry and I wasn't really hungry. And I said, oh, I don't want all this food to go to waste. And he just kind of shook his head and looked at me. He's like, well, it's either going to go to waste or it's going to go to your waste. Which do you want? And I'm like, what did he say? And he's like, it's either going to go to waste or to your waste. Which do you want? And I'm like, it was almost like one of those things. It was like a little light bulb just went off in my head. I'm like, oh my gosh, he's right. And so
I don't have to eat this.
Yeah, I don't have to eat this. My dad's not there looking at me with his glare going, finish your plate.
Yeah.
It's one of those things that kind of getting out of that habit. And a lot of that does come from when you were young and small. And, folks, here's the reality of it. I remember when I was young and I had the metabolism of a 20, 25-year-old, right? I could eat anything and it would literally melt off. If you turn down the volume on the stereo, you could actually hear my body burning it off, right? That ain't the way it is today. All right. And it's one of those things that you've got to adjust and adapt and things like that. But, really looking at, being intentional with it. Right. And that goes to, the debt that goes to your waste, everything else. But, okay, so we're kind of burning through our time here, but what are some things you need to focus on? Well, first of all, we've talked about this, developing a spending plan, right? Romans 13:8, owe no one anything except to love one another. Boom. So you don't want to be in debt. Now, is that saying that, hey, you're going to burn if you have a credit card? No, not at all, right? That's not what we're saying. So don't take it to the extreme. But focus on being debt free. Focus on, like you said, is this moving me closer to, is this purchase moving me closer to or further away from my financial goals? And some things, regardless of what the radio gurus out there say, you're going to need to finance, right? Maybe it's a car, maybe it's your home or a big purchase. But, should you really go out there and if you don't have assets set up or whatever, should you really buy that timeshare? Maybe not, right? You really need that boat? Rent a boat for a few hours or whatever the case may be. But if, not to knock it if you have one or whatever, but again, are you out of debt? And if the answer is no, then look to focus on that first. And it's super simple to do. You just list out all your debts, if you want to do an Excel sheet and commit to debt elimination. And how do you do that? Well, there's the debt snowball. That's what I use personally, and I love it. But you can actually save more money if you focus on what's called the debt avalanche. But I will caution you, it's not as rewarding as the debt snowball. The debt snowball, you stack your stuff smallest to tallest as far as the balances, and you get those small ones paid off really quick. It reinforces your decision, right? It really makes you feel good. It's like, okay, I'm doing this. I see progress. Whereas the debt avalanche, you may have some higher interest credit cards, and that's where you focus on the high interest first. That may be a big balance. So it may take you forever to get that first thing paid off. And that's, the debt avalanche, like I said, it does work, but it's for the right person with a lot of discipline. So if that's not you, do what I did, focus on the debt snowball. Right?
The key though, I think that because we do a lot of financial plans for people and we're like, okay, list your debts and how much are you paying on each and what are the minimum payments? 9 times out of 10, people just throw random amounts like, oh, the minimum payment's 40. I pay 100 on that one. I pay 200 on that one. They're just random amounts. But the big key with regardless of debt avalanche debt snowball or avalanche is to only pay the minimum on everything except the one you're paying off.
Yeah. And then stack it and, knock them out. And if you need help with that, reach out to us and we'll definitely set you up give you some tools, some free tools for you to use and whatnot. But the key is, really every dollar you work hard for should have a purpose, right? And that's where we talk about being intentional with your money, being intentional with your time and things like that. It's really all about, okay, well, I work my butt off for X dollars per hour or whatever your salary is. What am I going to do with that money? And making sure you know where it goes. I mean, I can't tell you the number of people I sit down with And part of that process is, do you have a budget in place, or, we like to call it a spending plan, but making sure that you have an intentional plan for every dollar coming in your house, whether it's giving, saving / investment, and debt elimination. And, I disagree with one of the gurus out there that says do one thing completely and then shift to another. You want to take call it a trifecta, a plan, right? Plan of attack, and really look to maximize. But the key is having a plan in place, right? And really having that budget and things like that. You work hard for your money. You don't want to just have it drift away. I mean, if you're sitting here listening to this going, yeah, there's a lot of times I wonder, where the hell did all my money go? Right. Well, that tells me that you don't have an intentional plan for every dollar, and it's not that difficult to get set up. And guess what? A lot of the resources are free. So if you need help on that, definitely let us go. So, or let us know. But, okay, so we've got the debt freedom. Well, let's talk about the health routines. So, do I need to go buy this expensive gym membership and plan on 2 hours a day at 3:00, 300, in the morning? I'm out there, right? No, not at all. Right. So you want to dive into a little bit of that?
Yeah, sure. I do want to point out a verse, 3 John 1 and 2 says, "Beloved, I pray that you may prosper in all things and be in health, just as your soul prospers." Like, the Bible talks about being in health. Like, it's important. You think
Right
about
there.
all the work that Paul did. Do you think he could have done that if he was like overweight and a weakling? No, like, we have work to do.
I can just imagine Paul on one of those little scooters.
You're going to offend somebody with a scooter.
I know. Hey, I'm not trying to knock anybody, but I'm just saying. And there's a time and a place, and you're right. So if I offended you, I apologize. That was not the intent. But
start from where you are, right? So. Start from where you are, and no, I think we're at an incredible time in the world, because I think there were a lot of things metabolically that happened that people didn't realize. People got super out of shape and unhealthy because of our food supply, and because of what has been done to our food sources, and because of that hustle and bustle culture. But now we have an opportunity to shift it. So start where you are today and make a shift, and understand that health transformation starts with those small, consistent steps, right? Focusing on nutrition and movement and hydration and rest. We forget that. We talked about that a little bit last week. So
a lot. That is a huge play in your health overall. So go ahead.
Yeah. But set realistic goals, track your progress. And I want to say this too, like, understand, and I said this, I think last week or the week before, but I'm going to reiterate that food is fuel. And I was watching this guy who did a 40-day water fast and talking about the spiritual growth and change. And I've read a lot about fasting, like biblical principle fasting. And like, you think about Jesus, like we always say, oh, we're supposed to be, everyone's out there, love like Jesus. And they use it to mean whatever the heck they want. But listen, if we really look at Jesus and his life, that man, when we see him eating, it's him breaking bread with other people as a time of fellowship, right? And there's a purpose behind it. And of course, I'm sure he fueled himself. But when he was before God and needing change, or needing answers, not change, but answers or whatever, like, his relationship with God was in fasting a lot of times, right? And fasting and prayer. And it's something that I think there's a reason the Bible talks about fasting and prayer. And why was fasting such a powerful thing? It was because it was a denial of self, right? It was a denial of a natural thing that we're created as hungry, like we want to eat, and denying that. I don't know. I just think maybe that's a topic for another day, but there's power in that, in saying no to self, right? And so I know for me, I'm just going to throw this tip out there. I am not a gym person. A gym is intimidating to me. The only time I went to a gym regularly is when I had a trainer. I hate the time spent getting ready to go to the gym and feeling cute enough to go, like, all the things. I hate it. So I've got a chin-up bar right there. I've got a floor and a mat to be able to do push-ups and sit-ups, right? I can do planks. Like, there's so much. Look up calisthenics if you're struggling on what to do. Start doing that at home. You don't even need any equipment.
No, and you see things all the time, and I'm a big proponent of resistance exercises, right? And like you go to the gym, and it can be very intimidating. It's like, you show up and there's these people that they must just spend all day there because they look like, Adonises, right? they're in super shape, and then I'm over here huffing on the stair machine. But it's one of those, you don't need to go, and it doesn't need to be a 30-hour, hour and a half workout. I mean, as you're going around your day in your house doing resistant exercises, right? Derby.com, that's a website you can use. We'll put that in the link, or put the link in the comments. But it has all kinds of exercises you can do, and they've got beginner, intermediate, and advanced. And these are all just body weight resistance stuff that you can do literally around your house. So there's a lot of things you can do. And again, it can be, 10 minutes here, 10 minutes there, make sure you walk or whatever. And all of a sudden you'll start to notice a change, not only in your physical attributes, but thank you. In your, just your energy level and things like that. But it's one of those things that set realistic goals, track your progress, because that's really fun to see when, oh my gosh, I can actually walk up the stairs and not be winded now, right? Or I can actually do, 30 push-ups, not just 3. And you can get there. I don't care who you are, you can get there. It just takes time. And that's the thing, small changes, not extreme workouts, right? And don't do a big crash diet or anything like that, but just little changes, and then watch and monitor and track your progress and see what happens. I would challenge you to start doing something for 90 days straight, and there not be a difference between the day you start and the day you ended it.
And find a battle buddy. That's what you always say, right, John? You call it a battle buddy, because when we don't have accountability, that's when we fail. So find those mentors, financial coaches if you need them. Hey, we got a team. Health partners to stay on track, right? I was so much more disciplined when I had a walk-in buddy than when it was just me motivating myself to get up and go walk, right? As far as go ahead.
No, I was going to say that's the key, right? It's, Ecclesiastes 4:9-10, 2 are better than 1. If either of them falls down, one can help the other up. And that's what a battle buddy is all about, right? Somebody who is genuinely there to hold you accountable, and you hold them accountable. It's not one-sided, right? And then you're there to lift each other up. I mean, we see it all the time, that accountability, whether it's through mentors, coaches, financial coaches, health coaches, they may have done some stuff that you haven't thought about, and it's always 2 heads are better than 1. So,
Yep, absolutely. And, join a Bible study, right? If you need to find some more accountability in your spiritual life, debt freedom class, or a community on Facebook. There's so many groups and different things you can plug into to find help that way. And then finally, right, we need to pray, kind of back to prayer and fasting, right? Pray for strength and discipline.
Because it's hard. It's hard. It's not easy to change. And the older you get, the seems more challenging it is. But eventually, you just get sick and tired of being sick and tired, and you start looking at the path you're headed down. I mean, think about where you're at right now in life, whether it's your financial health or your physical health, what you're doing on a consistent basis. Where have you come from in the last 3 years? And based on that, where do you project yourself in the next 3 years, right? And if that's not where you want to be, are you getting in better shape, or you getting in worse shape? And don't tell yourself, and that's financially or health wise, but don't tell yourself, oh, I'll take care of it tomorrow, because you never know if you're going to have it tomorrow. And why not do something today? Again, start something small. Start every day. I love the attitude of gratitude, right? Starting your day with prayer, and reading my Bible and things like that, and really just being thankful for who I am and what I have, and what else could I be doing to further the kingdom, further my family, further my impact on helping others and things like that. And that's really where kind of getting into the Word and really kind of watch that light bulb happen. Again, 90 days, focus on that. We may need to do a 90-day challenge. So
that'd be fun.
So in closing, because we went a little long today, and hopefully get some value out of this. If you did, please, please, please give us that click, give us that subscribe. That really helps our channel out. But, ask yourself, what areas are you struggling with? Is it finances? Is it being healthy? Or is it both, right? Love to see your answers in the comment. And, if there's something we can do to help, obviously reach out to us. We're more than happy to give you a free financial plan. We'll put the link to the Derby website and stuff in there, but there's a lot of great apps out there. You don't have to go and invest in some big shadoozle, right? But again, it's something that you get one trip, guys, and you want to make sure that you're having fun, making an impact for the kingdom, making an impact for your family, and enjoying life, not just today and not just financially, but health wise. And a lot of times the best things in life are free. But you want to have that physical health to be able to enjoy it. So want to be debt free and in shape, swipe for biblical steps, and, just take controls today. Follow us on our channels. We're all over Instagram, Prosper in the Kingdom, or you can follow Wendy, follow myself. We'd love to have you along for our journey. And next week, we're going to be diving into the 10 habits of biblically wealthy and healthy people. So we're going to continue this conversation. This is part of our 12-week series. I think we're on this is week 4. So we're moving on through this stuff. So yeah, sure. I've got a tracker to keeping track of this stuff, right? But hopefully you're having fun along with us. I know I'm having a good time sharing this stuff. So hopefully it's helping out, making an impact. If you've got an idea or something you want to hear about, join us, email us, find out, and we'll get your stuff on the air too. But again, make it a great day. Be grateful for what you have and who you are and the opportunity in front of you, but make sure you're being intentional with every dollar and every second of life. Have a great week, everybody. We'll see you next Tuesday for another Prosper in the Kingdom. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks for tuning in to Prosper in the Kingdom. If this episode added value to your day, be sure to like and subscribe. And don't forget to share it with someone who could use the encouragement. For more resources, head to prosperinthekingdom.com. Let's continue building lives of purpose and abundance, one step at a time.